Good afternoon, faculty, staff, and my fellow Cardigan brothers. Do you guys ever remember putting your finger through the icing in the cake before it was time to cut it? Do you ever also remember bugging your parents to open Christmas gifts before it was time? I sure have. None of us have true self-control, and none of us ever will. We're not perfect. Heck, I'm probably one of the last people to be talking about self-control. But what is self-control anyway? The best definition I found was this. Self-control is the ability to control oneself, in particular, one's emotions and desires, especially in a difficult situation. We all struggle with it, whether it be uncontrollably laughing, calling out in class, or maybe the urge to hit someone. Maybe not one of those specific instances, but something like that. Have you guys ever heard the expression, think before you speak? Well, as a child, I struggled with that a lot. I remember when I was 11 years old, my class was playing a game about the Odyssey of Homer, and the scores were tied between the two teams that were playing. The teacher in the room, Miss Sembrat, would give the question to whoever raised their hand first. She asked, what was the common script used in Greece during the time of the Odyssey? I jumped up with my hand in the air and shouted, acrylic! Seconds later, I heard someone say, Leopold, isn't that a type of paint? The whole class burst into laughter, and I immediately sat back down on my seat. The only thing I could do was laugh along with them to hide my sheer embarrassment. Through that experience, I learned that self-control could be a wonderful tool if I acknowledged it and learned from my previous mistakes. But still being an 11-year-old at the time, the only thing I got from it was not to yell the first thing that came to mind. And as luck would have it, I still struggle with that. Oh gosh, okay. And to be, okay. Self-control is a wonderful thing once you utilize its power properly. It'll motivate you to succeed in whatever you do, keep your harmful urges at bay, and you can gain people's trust easier. Robert E. Lee once said, I cannot trust a man to control other people who cannot control themselves. Developing self-control may be difficult for some, but it's far from impossible. 2 Timothy 1:7 says that God does not give us a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and self-control. You need to know that self-control can be increased over time. First, you're going to want to think about what you're going to control specifically. If you set your goal to something like, I'll never eat junk food again, I can guarantee you're going to fail. Set your goal to something specific, like I'll only eat one cookie during buffet dinner instead of 4. Next, you're going to want to make your temptation look less attractive and measure what you will lose when you give in. Like saying, if I eat more than 2 cookies for dinner, the fat, carbs, and sugar will eventually stockpile, and you'll be left with the body you never wanted, but got anyway. Then you're going to want to ask yourself these 3 questions. What do I want? How much of it do I want? And how can I satisfy it appropriately? Proverbs 16:32 says that whoever is slow to anger is stronger than the mighty, but he who rules his spirit is stronger than he who takes a city. Ultimately, self-control allows us to enjoy the good things in life in moderation, without wanting too much and knowing when we've had enough. Self-control is a lot like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. Thank you.